In this video, we are going to be talking about how to factor a quadratic that has a leading coefficient other than 1. And if you look at this example here, the leading coefficient is 4 and not 1. This means that we will not be able to use the x method that we saw in a previous video, and instead we will need to use a modified x method. So we're going to create an x, and just like in the original x method, in the top of the x, we're going to put the b value, which is negative 11 here. And then in the bottom, we're going to put a times c. So let's look, our a value is 4, and our c value is negative 45. So multiplying those together gives us negative 180. Now what we want to do is we want to find two numbers that add to our b value and multiply to our c value. And the two numbers that work for that are going to be negative 20 and positive 9. So now these values here are what are going to help us to break down the middle term of our quadratic. So the negative 11x, we want to break into two terms. And these numbers that I've circled here in green are going to help us break them up. So I'm going to write 4x squared, and then the middle term I'm going to break into negative 20x plus 9x. And I'm getting those numbers from negative 20 here and positive 9 here. And then the minus 45, or our c value, I'll just write that at the end here. So minus 45. Now, this might look familiar to you. In a previous video, we saw the method of factoring by grouping. And factoring by grouping wants us to take the first two terms and group them together, and then group the second two terms together. So I'm just putting parentheses around those groupings. And then in the first set of parentheses, you can factor out a 4x. So if we do that, then what's going to be left over is x minus 5. And then in the second grouping, we have a greatest common factor of 9. So I can factor out 9 from both of those terms, and that will leave me with x minus 5. Now, you'll notice here that in the parentheses, I have an x minus 5 in both locations. And what that's going to allow me to do is factor out x minus 5 from both of those terms. So if I factor out x minus 5, the thing that's going to be left over is 4x and then plus 9. And that is how we factor that original quadratic.